You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionFit.com. Old trading walks into a bar. New trading raises it. That's Tasty Trade. Keep focused with news feeds that matter. See opportunity differently in analysis mode. Chart your heart out with over 300 indicators. Plus, you can get low pricing, lots of education, and a support team that really gets how traders trade. It's no wonder Investopedia named Tasty Trade the best broker for options in 2024. Genius loves company. Go to tastytrade.com/podcasts and see for yourself. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back. It is Monday. It is time to kick off the first trading week here of February. Hope you're having a good winter weekend out there. I know it's a chilly one for a lot of you out there. Hope you're staying warm, staying safe out there. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of all of your favorite options podcasts. At least we hope so. Over a dozen coming at you out there these days, including a lot of fun stuff coming at you on the pro side. The optionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn all about that fun as we learn who's joining us on the old Option Block program today. And pleased to welcome on this Monday edition of the old OB, the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionBit.com, a.k.a. last year's trivia champ and the challenger, Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management. I introduce them now, listeners, because it is time to get serious. It is time to get down to business. It is time for the 80s Trivia Challenge. Here we go. All right. We have kicked off something new this year as well, where we have the audience picking, the listeners, picking the category that everyone should fight in today. And the audience has done me no favors. We have a three-way tie right now in the voting between blue, so geography listeners, a yellow, which is history, and green, which is science. You can't make up your mind which category you want them to battle to the death. So you know what? That means it comes down to me. If you can't make up your minds, I will make up your minds for you, listeners. And you know what? For fun, because we haven't battled in this category in a while, I'm going to go for geography. So, AKA blue. So, gentlemen, put your hands on your buzzers. Tell you what, I will turn you up. There you go. Can you hear better now? Does that make it better? All right. All right. Let's do this. All right. Hands on your buzzers. Which principality derives its revenues from casinos instead of taxes? All right, I see. Looks like Rock Lobster buzzing in there first. Mr. Rock.
Monaco.
Yes, Monaco. That was a pretty easy one, I think. All right.
Well, I get it right, and it's easy.
It was pretty easy.
You come up with fucking He-Man from 1981.
Well, He-Man is quite challenging and also quite awesome. Are you besmirching Masters of the Universe? The judges want to know. That might result in some points being taken away.
Does this mean Tosaw's lead is already gone and we are now tied? 1-1?
Pretty much. But yeah,
I mean, he gets it off of he has these shady gambling things that he knows. I stand for Eternian, truth and justice, the hero, the masters of the universe, and he wins off of gambling.
So just to be clear, are you besmirching Masters of the Universe, Uncle Mike? Because the judges might have to take that into consideration.
No, I'm
no, not you. I'm not Uncle Mike.
Regard.
Not Uncle Mike. I mean Rock Lobster. Are you besmirching? Because the judges want to know.
I would never.
Is that an official besmirchment? Because we will not tolerate such things, such heresy on this network.
It would never happen. It would not come from my lips. Besmirching Masters of the Universe. As in 80s wrestling, I would never besmirch 80s wrestling.
It's going to be a long time until that movie comes out in early June. It's going to be a fun time to make the Rock Lobster twist. Maybe some bonus, maybe we'll just sprinkle in some bonus Motu questions here or there, just for fun. Because who wouldn't want to guess?
I mean, that would make it fair.
That would make it kind of fun, too. You know, who doesn't want to guess a random trap jaw question? Why not? How many accessories do trap jaw come with?
I haven't thought about trap jaw in years.
There you go. Now it's going to happen because the movie's coming in June.
Trap jaw.
Are we getting trapped in this market, listeners? Let's find out as we head on into the trading room.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, so the votes come in for science after they wanted science, but the segment has already happened, listeners. So if you're going to vote for science, you got to vote before the segment actually happened. So post-segment voting will not be allowed. Also, no besmirching of the beloved 80s franchise known as the Masters of the Universe. All right, here we go. Out to the markets. Are we besmirching the markets out here? The answer is no. They are also feeling the Motu love to the upside, listeners. S&P up nearly 0.75% right now, a little over 50 handles. Flirting with that magical 7K level yet again. The Dow up over 1%, the NASDAQ up almost 0.9%, and our good buddy VIX Cash coming back down to earth a little bit at about a 16.25 as we're kicking off the show, down about 1.25 points from the Thursday show. So, you know, it's not like things have turned around. We're still seeing the metals route out there, but nowhere near as aggressively. Obviously, 1% in comparison to the 25+% annihilation we saw in silver on Friday. 1% seems kind of tame by comparison. Crude coming back to earth a little bit as well. So it's kind of a bit of an interesting start to the week, an interesting start to the shortened trading month that is February. We also have VVIX, the vol itself, at a 100 even as we're kicking off the show, down 7 points from the Thursday show. So at least for right now, it seems like all is right again in the markets after an interesting little dust up at the end of the week last week. Let's go out now to the winner of this week's challenge and the current reigning and defending trivia champ. We're still working out the prizes here behind the scenes, so something interesting will be heading the way of the compound. Maybe a clam pirate gun. We'll find out. We'll find out what fits his lifestyle out there. Maybe I don't know. I'm not the expert on chicken rearing. Maybe there's some sort of chicken rearing accessory that is the hit with all the chicken rearers out there. But I digress. Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, what is catching your eye out there in today's market activity?
I guess we didn't go to war. I think it felt like on Friday that we were going to war with Iran or something. And there was rumors or something like that.
Did seem pretty nasty, yeah.
And but it didn't happen. And also this shenanigans in the silver market. Okay, now you were a floor trader. I was a floor trader. You only see those kind of squeezes when there's some kind of mechanical squeeze. Like, spot silver prices are all over the place. A guy I work with at Option Pit, he has an interest in a silver mine, and like he's getting calls like, can you give us silver right now? Like desperate covering um in the silver market. So I don't know how this all went down, but I feel like whatever the mechanical squeeze was is starting to unwind somewhat. Now, where gold and silver end up, I don't know. But I'm just saying, I mean, at this point, it kind of feels like that big run in gold is over. Silver is over. And now it's just kind of sitting around, know. Now, I think there's still plenty of shorts out there, but it's down almost 8% today. Silver is anyway, at least the silver ETF, I should say. I don't follow spot silver prices. But the next part is that earnings were pretty good. Earnings were good. Earnings are good. That's why stocks go up. We have a new Fed chairman. We had the Fed minutes. We have inflation's around 3%, apparently from the PPI or all the data they released at the end of last week. Got a lot of knowns out there. And VIX closed almost, traded above 18 on Friday on a little bit of a panic sell-off or, whatever, just, oh my gosh, we're going to, and to be honest, I think going toward what would be a surprise for Trump, because I don't think he's, for the most part, avoided it. Besides taking out, an ISIS guy or, decamping the ruler of Venezuela, for the most part, I don't think there's been a whole lot of aggressive military activity. Although Greenland, we almost had Greenland on the list. So a lot of those items, like I said, when you cross items off the list and earnings are pretty good, stocks rally, and here we are. We're very close to all-time highs, if not at an all-time high in SPY again. So again, we're at an all-time high with with VIX still trading 16 and not 12. But it has been steadily trying to break out here. So maybe this is the week it does it. I would say too, it's software stocks have gotten clobbered, and I don't know if all the algos, whatever, have decided that AI is going to ruin every software company, franchise software company. Maybe not the best time for Oracle to borrow $50 billion or whatever, but there's a lot going on. I would say there's a lot going on, but stocks are at all-time highs. So ultimately that means investors are feeling pretty good. But we have to talk to the biggest bull in the China shop, Mr. Tosaw.
He is the champion of the bulls out there. Been an interesting start to the year for Mr. Bull. Before we get to the beloved S&P talk, Mr. Uncle Mike, we have to talk about your baby. Last week, you joined me on TWIFO the day before the metals rout, the metals apocalypse, call it what you will, out there on Friday. You were saying at that time you thought it was a product solely for crazy people at that point. And sure enough, you were right. Just a few hours later out there, the legs cut out from under it. We were planning a silver poll for this week. In fact, it just went live. We thought we were going to put it up last week. We thought, we'll wait till the week starts this week. And of course, maybe we got the big move already on Friday. We shall see. But let's start there, Mr. Uncle Mike. Your thoughts on your beloved shiny stuff getting the legs cut out from under it, sir.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping it would have happened on Thursday so we could have talked about it on the Thursday show, because it was on Friday. I'm like, this would be such amazing content for the option block right now. So silver, how do we put this? It went down. It went down a lot, actually. So high of, and just looking at SLV, high on Thursday, the 29th of 109.83. And it went down roughly 40 handles to a low on Friday. So in one day, it went down to 69.12. So yeah, it went down technically over 40 handles in a 24-hour period, and that's a lot of movement in it. And so, the collar that I had on and worked so hard with for many years got out at 39 roughly. And if we have another day today, like we had on Friday, then hey, I'm right back to where my collar was. And so that would be interesting to say the least. I think the big news was on Friday is that with the new Fed chair, he didn't, I guess from what it sounded like, the news of the new Fed chair was that he's not going to be the ultimate super fast interest rate lowerer that everyone was expecting. And that seemed to be the news that was driving it down. But I'm kind of with Andrew on this one in that news like that for silver to go down over 30% in a day, that's quite a bit. So there's something a little bit more to it. And we'll see where it goes. And in terms of from a technical standpoint with silver, I don't really think this is something that you can make very technical. This is just a really, really, really big drop, and that's kind of how I'm viewing this at this stage with how silver is. But nonetheless, on Friday, I found it more entertaining to watch a 1-minute price chart go streaming in real time watching silver than I would any movie. It was just fascinating to watch how it was going down. I really liked watching it. And so I still am not a silver bull at this point, still out of it. I think it's the important thing to know for our listeners that even I can change on things. Now, one of these days, I'm just going to freak everybody out and become just a bear on the stock market just to see what happens on the show. But I'd probably just cause some type of a software meltdown or something if I'm ever bearish. But nonetheless, it is important that you change if you feel reason that you need to change with your market sentiments. So in terms of the stock market today, we are, I believe, about 20 points off of a new all-time high in the S&P 500. Of course, it feels like the market's strong again because we're moving upward. But understand we are close to all-time highs, so make sure that you have risk managed in the proper way if you are being aggressive with this to the short term. Also, make sure that your overall portfolio is allocated properly. And you don't have too much into one asset class. I think it's going to be interesting to see over the course of the next couple months the bond movements, in that if we do have a Fed chair that is going to lower rates, well, then theoretically, ETFs like TLT and IEF will go up and go up fairly significantly. But if he's not going to lower rates, or he's just not going to do quite like what he said he would, then they may still go up, but not as much, but we'll at least have interest rate stabilization. One of the things that we haven't really talked about, not necessarily on this show per se, but just in general, is that we are in an environment right now to where we actually have a normalized yield curve again. In that if you were to go a year ago, you could buy a 1 or 3 month treasury and you'd get more of an interest rate than you would on the 10-year. Well, that's not the case anymore. The 10-year is trading at over 4% again, and then the 3-month is at 3.67. So we do have more normalized interest rates, but I think it's going to be interesting to see where we go with a Fed chair that doesn't seem to be as hawkish, if you will, as people thought he was going to be. But you have a president who likes interest rates near zero. I think it's going to be some interesting banter back and forth, but I also think it's going to be interesting to see what direction we actually are going to go with interest rates for the next few months. And that is what I am seeing today.
Let's see what we're seeing in the rest of the market, shall we, listeners? Is it a banger day? You know, if you just go by VIX, if you spend all your days out there in VIX land, the answer is yeah, it's pretty active out there. Over 500,000 contracts already, 527,000 to be precise out there, listeners. The ADV up to 826 right now, so VIX looking pretty hot, pretty spicy. The big dog out there in VIX land today, it's the Feb 19s, going up for about $1.40, about 34,000 times. That's your hot option out there in VIX land today. Are you a fan of those, listeners? Are you buyers or sellers of the Feb 19s? Let's see if we've, right? You folks can't make up your mind on anything today. You can't make up your mind on what category the Rock Lobster and Uncle Mike should battle in. You're all tied on that, and now you're pretty much tied on whether you want to buy or sell these calls for $1.40. I guess that's what makes a market. We will come back to these. We will also come back to our silver poll, which just went live a few minutes ago. We're asking you quite simply, how are you approaching silver right now? Are you straight long? You still riding with the one that brung you to the dance? You rode it up. Might be you're riding it down right now. Maybe you're long silver, but you got some puts in your back pocket for a rainy day. If you bought those puts, those were A, time it would be. Those were freaking expensive. When did you buy those puts? Because they were not giving away silver puts, as we all know, over the past few weeks. Are you short puts or put spreads, or are you just straight short SLV, maybe long some puts in your back pocket? So which way are you going out there, listeners, as we keep going to SPY? Is it a hot day in SPY land today? Well, before we get there, let's run down a quick top 5 in VIX land, because why not? Number 2, 28,000 of the Feb 22s. Number 3, 23,000 of the April 30s. If you're wondering, those also going for $1.45. So similar prices, Feb 19s or April 30s. Which way are you going, listeners? Number 4, 17,000 of the Feb 18 half puts are only put in the top 5 today. Average price for those about $1.70, and about 17,000 of the Feb 18 calls. Those going up for about $1.50. So if you don't like the 19s, you could have had the 18s for about a dime more. I'm guessing they're going for a little bit different price now. But interesting stuff out there in VIX land. Out to SPY we go now. 5.75 million contracts on the tape. In SPY land, the ADV 9.4. So once again, out of the gate, pretty hot, pretty spicy out there in SPY land. To the S, is the S hot? Is the S spicy today? The answer is yes. The S right now hanging out a little bit north of 2.75 million, closing in on 3 million contracts right now. So again, a decent clip right now. The ADV in the S is right around 4.3 million contracts out there. So probably going to hit that today. By the way, if you're wondering, we talked about that magical, mythical strike earlier. The pars, the 7,000s, will go figure. That is your big dog in the SPX today. 106,000 of the 7,000 calls have already traded today. If you're wondering, we're still below that strike, but an average price of $1.19. Can we get there? Can we get there by the end of the day, or at least close enough to pay off that $1.19? I guess we shall find out, listeners. To the small caps, are the small caps looking hot out of the gate today? The answer is yes. Up over, I should say, over about 1.2% so far today. So bit of a bumping day for small caps, also bumping from a volume perspective, already putting up over 1.3, about 1.33 million contracts in IWM. The ADV 1.75 million out there, so certainly seems like it's going to hit that, maybe even by the end of the show or early in the afternoon. The hot option in small caps, if you're wondering right now, we're going back to this put game, but not quite as far out as we have in the past. This time it's a 0-day put that's leading the dance. 103,000 of the 262 puts. We're hanging out right around 262.75. So slightly out of the money puts. Average price for these about 40 cents. So leave it up to you whether you like that little lottery ticket on the day or sold to you. As we keep going out to the Qs, the Qs have been rock'em sock'em robots of late as well, and they're looking pretty active today. 3.45 million, not quite a 4 handle as we've come to expect, but again, that's pretty lofty volume. Almost 3.5 million, nothing to sneeze at when your ADV is 5.4 million. So certainly seems like it's on pace to hit that. We'll see if the second half of the session can live up to the first as we go on out now to the single names. Is it a hot day? Is it a banger day out there in single names? The answer is it is more than respectable. We are north of our 350 threshold to break into the top 10, 376 to be precise. By the way, if you like this segment, make sure you're subscribed to the full network, because then you get the hot options report coming at you every day, which is essentially this segment writ large for the whole day. We break down what are the hot options in each of these names. It's a good time, if I do say so myself. As we head on out to number 10, good old GameStop. You know, earnings season is upon us when GameStop's back in the top 10. Number 10, 376 today, trading 25.67, up about $1.75, or a little over 7%, about 7.2%. Apparently, everyone's really excited about what this CEO is saying about they're going to acquire something. Another name, a very big quote-unquote consumer mega deal. Well, there you go. Or just more buyers than sellers right now, because we know at the end of the day, it is GameStop. So we'll wait and see how that materializes. Either way, number 10, GameStop. Number 9, the artist formerly known as Facebook, given some back today, trading right around 7.10, off about $5, or about 2/3%. We all know it's been quite the run for Facebook / Meta of late, given a good chunk of that back now, back to not quite where they were pre-earnings. We're pretty close. We were sub $700 going into their announcement. People were paying $11 for the par calls that expired on Friday. How do I know that? Well, of course, I listened to the Hot Options Report. That's how I know that kind of stuff. And those par calls for $11 turned out to be quite the winning trade. You're back to $11 right now. So if you somehow rode those into this week, you rolled them maybe, you're pretty much back to your break-even strike level, pretty darn close out there right now. So interesting stuff in Meta. Number 9, 381,000 contracts on the tape. Number 8, this one, I haven't had a chance to really dig into what is behind the tailspin for this name so far this year, but this is Robinhood. Robinhood just kind of falling out of bed, off another $10 today, 10.25 or 10.25%, because they were pretty much right around $100 coming into the day. So yeah, just a rough time for them, trading 89.25. This puts them down now 22.5% just year to date. And of course, I think their high was somewhere around 150, 152, somewhere in that ballpark. So off over 40% from their highs out there. It's just a whirlwind bit of downside out there for all things Robinhood. I know in the past they've been very closely correlated to the price of Bitcoin, so there could certainly be a little bit of that going on out there as well, this sell-off in Bitcoin. Not a great thing for Robinhood, but still, perhaps there is more lurking under the kimono behind the curtain over there. I'll have to have a chance to maybe dig in a little bit after the show. I do know they have earnings coming up, I believe, next week, so we'll see if this blood red streak, at this point, they're going to be cut almost in half from their highs recently. If this blood red streak continues. Either way, number 8, Robinhood, 390 on the tape. If you're wondering, the last time they flirted with a par strike was September of last year, and before that, you really got to go back to July of last year. So it's been a little while since they broke par, and not in the right direction for the Bulls. Number 8, Robinhood, 390. Number 7, Intel. This name has been just absolutely wild of late. It's up, it's down, it's all over the place. Folks are rolling the bones on the 60s for size. How do I know that? Again, listen to the Hot Options Report. But lately, there's been more talk about the 50s, and you see that again today. The stock, $49.09, up another 262 or 5.65%. So this name has been on an absolutely wild tear since they went hat in hand down to DC last year. Number 7, 401 on the tape for Intel. Number 6, Palantir. They are popping off after the bell today, so we'll get some more concrete numbers on them. They, of course, have had a rough year, to put it mildly. Today, gaining some back, up exactly $3 or 2%, trading 149.5. Of course, year to date, it's been a rough one. They're off about 11%. And of course, going back to, let's see, what was their high? Their high was 207.52. So from that lofty level that they hit back in November of last year, obviously they've been cut quite a bit as well. Not quite as vicious as Robinhood out here, but still it's been a pretty interesting turnaround for Uncle Mike's beloved Palantir. We'll see how they fare after the bell today. Stay tuned to the Hot Options Report after the bell. Maybe we'll break some of that down. Number 6, Palantir, 429 on the tape. Number 5, the Amazonian's looking good today, 244.17, up nearly $5 or about 2% today. Good for number 5, 445 on the tape. Number 4, Mr. Softy. We all know the tale of woe that was Softy last week. Again, it was pretty rough. It was the same trade in both names. Folks were loading up on the pars and Amazon, or excuse me, pars and Microsoft, and the pars in Meta on the same day pretty much. And it was a tale of two very different tapes. You got run over on the pars in Microsoft. You were laughing all the way to the bank in Meta. So Microsoft continuing its downside today, 424.5, off 5 3/4, or about 1.3%. So not been a good run for good old Mr. Softy. They're off over 10% year to date now as well. Number 4, 495 on the tape. Number 3, the Fruit Company. They had decent earnings last week, and then they kind of got caught up in all the other macro nonsense that was going on. The stock ended up, I think we were talking about, I think it was the 265s, maybe the 260s last week going into their earnings. That was the hot trade then, and they were looking pretty good in the after hours till they weren't on the next morning there. So again, the after hours a bit of a fickle mistress. Watch out, all of you who want to do this 24/7 options trading, because going to have some fun fills and some fun times. But Apple today looking good, 265 1/4, up 5 3/4, or 2.25%. So apparently all those buyers that people thought were going to materialize after the earnings last week, they're coming in today. Better late than never, I suppose. Number 3, the Fruit Company, looking pretty hefty already, almost 1 million contracts already. So a big jump between number 4 and number 3 right now, almost double, which is kind of wild. And then number 2, it's NVIDIA. Yes, number 2, NVIDIA falls to number 2, 189.91, off 1 1/4. So pretty much a rounding error for them today, putting up 1.43 million. That means the big dog yet again is Tesla. This name has been wild. Looking at the flow out here, the 450s, the 500s, the 420 puts, what's been lighting it up out here? Weirdly enough, no 1 puts or 10 puts. If you're a longtime listener of the network, you'll remember the Tesla catastrophe puts. Not a lot of those in the offing right now, but who knows? If this red continues, maybe we'll continue that conversation. Right now, it's only off 3 2/3, or not even 1%, trading 426.75. So what will the hot option be in Tesla today? I guess we will find out. We do have a lot of big names popping off. We had Disney before the bell on a Monday. How weird is that? Again, they have rumors of a CEO shift coming later this week, so maybe they wanted to get ahead of it with their earnings. It felt kind of weird to have Disney popping off on a Monday right after the weekend. It was kind of strange. Again, as we mentioned earlier, Palantir after the bell. You want an old school name? How about Rambus? Rambus popping off after the bell today. Tomorrow we got AMD and Chipotle. So some big names. ADM before the bell and PayPal before the bell. Wednesday we got the Oobs. They're before the bell. And then some company called CME. Also, the newest sponsor for the White Sox, apparently. They're all over the uniforms this year. As well as some name called Alphabet and Qualcomm and Snap, all on Wednesday. Snap is after the bell, and Alphabet after the bell. Thursday, we got the Amazonians popping off after the bell, as well as Roblox. Roblox popping off after the bell, and Reddit, because why not? Let's throw Reddit in there as well. And then Friday, we've got everyone's favorite, Under Armour, some other little C company across town called Cibo, and then Toyota, if you're down for a little bit of Toyota. I mean, we talk Toyota on the network. Maybe Friday we'll change that. And speaking of changing things up, it is time to get weird and wild. It is time for the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Odd Block, the portion of the show where we get weird. We get wild. Speaking of weird and wild, Mr. Rock Lobster, our chat thinks that we should award you a half bonus point if you can complete this sentence by the power of what, sir? Oh, 3, 2, 1. He did not respond in time, listeners. He did not get his half bonus point. So,
Ray Skull.
There you go, Uncle Mike.
You know what? I actually knew that somewhere in the back of my head.
If you had unmuted, the chat might have awarded you bonus. They're a very generous lot out there. They give you a chance, and yet you opted not to take it, sir. And so no bonus power. In fact, you should lose points for mocking the power that is Grayskull, sir. All right, let's keep rolling. Let's see if there's some names to mock on the old Odd Block today. Let's kick things off in Magnera Corp, ticker symbol MAGN, MAGN. This is a newcomer to the network, trading 1361, up about half a buck, a little over 4% today. This is a name out of Charlotte. I don't have to go see what they do here, but they are coming up on our screens today. They are off over the past year about $5 or about 26.5%. So not been a great year for them. That said, they bottomed out at $7.82 in November. Since then, they have pretty much doubled. So including shooting up right back again from November 19th, they hit their low. By November 24th, they had almost doubled to $13.5. So maybe some takeover going on here or something along these lines. I'll need to dig in a little bit and see what is afoot here. But I know what's afoot in the options market. Somebody came in this morning. Man, this market is fantastic. They said, Feb 12 halves, how are they? So the stock at the time was $13.46. So they're going pretty much $1 in the money, listeners. They said, Feb 12 halves, how are they? They got 85 cents, which, yeah, I think they will buy an option that's $1 in the money almost for 85 cents. I think they'll do that for you. 85 cents at $1.75. So a 90-cent wide market on a $1 in the money. Again, it is MAGN, so they're not exactly putting up the most flow out there, but still, that's that market not exactly, let's say, lighting the world on fire. By the way, though, maybe this makes that market sound a little bit better. The ADV in this name is 12. So you're putting up 12 contracts a day. Maybe I feel a little bit more for the market makers out there. Either way, they said 85 cents at $1.75. This person said, I will pay $1.67, good sir, 2,000 times. That was at $13.46. The stock has rallied about 15 cents since then. And they do have earnings on the 5th, Mr. Rock Lobster. So we got somebody coming in to a name that does 12 contracts a day. They say, I want to do 2,000. And they get them done, sir, for a pretty garbage market. What are your thoughts? Swinging for the upside in everyone's hot new favorite, MAGN.
Interesting. Again, it is I think a lot of these sort of commodity companies kind of got just drilled this year. Commodity manufacturing export because of all the tariff uncertainty and all that stuff. Because this was a $22 stock in March. I don't know. And now it's kind of just sitting here around 12 and a half. I don't think this is bad if you think the company can rebound a little bit. There's open interest. I think this trade is bigger than the open interest. So I think somebody thinks something's going to happen in here. And at least right now the market's 1590. And again, but they're inexpensive options, with a few weeks to run. So I think it's a terrible trade. Good luck getting out of it, but we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah,
Not terrible price wise.
You are the OI. You are the trade when they do 12 contracts a day and you put up 2,000. You're trading with yourself.
You are it.
By the way, this is the global leader in specialty materials and nonwovens, Mr. Rock Lobster. And if you're wondering, they produce substrate materials for 1,000 customers worldwide. If that's not the sexiest corporate description I've ever heard, Mr. Rock Lobster. Substrates and nonwovens. I mean, I don't think they're spending their money on marketing.
You
had me at nonwovens. Wow. Yeah. Then maybe they could use those.
You might need the power of Grayskull to get out of these.
Might need the power of Grayskull, or perhaps the magical letters of AI. They whisper that. Then perhaps you can get out of those calls.
$20 stock.
Yeah, those are going to be interesting to see how they fare, listeners. As we keep going, let's see if we can get a little bit sexier than substrates, and nonwovens. Let's go out to Hercules Capital, ticker symbol HTGC, trading $18.16, off about a third of a buck, or nearly 2% today. On the year, it's been a bit of a rough year for Hercules. They're off almost $3 or about 13.5%. They hit their high pretty much right around Valentine's Day, like a lot of names did last year. Their high was pretty much $22 exactly. Then they got taken to the woodshed immediately afterwards in April, obviously, and pretty much hit their low. So they did all their living in the span of a couple of months last year. They sold off to $15.65, and they spent the rest of the year mostly clawing their way back up to about $19.50 in August, and they got clipped again in October, back to $16.70. And then since then, they've been kind of climbing their way out of that. They got up to about $19 again in December before falling again, including falling to where they are right now, back to $18. So kind of hanging out in the lower middle portion of their 52-week range right now. Maybe that explains what we had lighting up today. We had somebody come in this morning and say HTGC 17 puts in April. How are they? They got 35 cents at 55. They said, you know what, good sir, I will take 1 penny price improvement. I will pay 54 cents for 5,000 of those bad boy Ape 17 puts. The stock was pretty much right here, 18.20. And they're going all the way out to April, so they're getting a fair amount of duration for this put. There are earnings coming up next week on the 12th, so I think we'll know then whether these puts were a good do or not. Mr. Rock Lobster, seems like it's been a bit of a struggle this year for Hercules. It looks like somebody doesn't think those struggles are over anytime soon, sir. What do you think?
Yeah, I've never figured out what these finance company REITs do. You know, they kind of spend money, but somehow make money, but they borrow money. This one is a specialty finance, providing financing to venture-backed institutional companies in tech and life science. Like, I never understand. Maybe this is some kind of closed-end fund that invest in things. What is it, like a private equity company, maybe? Some kind of private equity thing. That is a pretty big, chunky amount of puts. It looks like they bought them. And right now they're 45.50. So I'm going to say somebody thinks, you could pay 54 and then they're at 50 in your face. So I don't quite.
That's a great way to make the customer happy.
Yeah. So they're either going to be really right, and I guess they're going to have some kind of markdown, or they're going to be very wrong, and these puts are going to go out worthless. But the fact that they're at 50 cents in the customer's face already is, I don't know, it's not a very good start.
Moral of the story for you, though, listeners, you listen into this show later today, maybe you get a screaming deal on those puts. You undercut the person who already bought 5,000 of them. You get a better price than them. So if you like these puts, they are apparently on a fire sale right now. So have at it out there, listeners. Speaking of sales and the performance therein, let's go out to a name we just talked about recently on the show about a month ago, January 5th. We talked about Enovix Corp, ticker symbol ENVX. And let's see, it's been an interesting year for Enovix. They've had some highs, some lows. The high was $16.50 back in July of last year. The low, $5.27 that they hit back in April 8th. So they did a lot of living from April through midsummer of last year. They spent the rest of the year kind of selling off. When we talked about it on January 5th, the stock was $7.92. And somebody came in and they were feeling it. They said, you know what? This is the 5th, so they only had 4 days to go. They said, how are those Jan 10s? Excuse me, the stock was $8.50. So the stock was $8.50 at the time. And they said, Jan 10s, how are they? So $1.50 out of the money calls. They got 8 cents at 11. They said, you know what? I'm going to pay 11 cents 5,000 times for these Jan 10s. Again, not monthly Jans, not even into February, because there's earnings in February. I can maybe see an argument for rolling the bones through February. Nope, they had to have them by the end of the week, and they ended up doing quite a bit on the day. I think over 20,000, but we just profiled that first 5,000 lot listeners, and the stock ended up going out, Mr. Rock Lobster, $7.92. So it did not go in the right direction. It ended up closing below where it was when they bought these calls. These calls were all still open, which go figure. You buy the 10s with a few days left to go. you're not really going to have a chance to get out of them. You just go big or go home time. So they ended up dropping 55 grand on that 5,000 lot. And if you do, obviously, the rest of the volume they did throughout the day, probably a lot more than that. Mr. Rock Lobster, they got a little bit too big for their britches. They thought this thing was popping $1.50 in just a few days. And apparently they learned the hard way that was not the case, sir.
Yeah, because it looks like all there is sadness. Did they even have a chance to get out of those things? Does not look like it.
Doesn't look like they only had 4 days.
Call buying. I mean, you have to be ready to exit in a moment's notice. So
yeah, Monday was the 5th.
I don't think that stock has not sniffed above $10 since the earnings came out. So I'm not feeling anything good there.
They put the trade on Monday the 5th. By Wednesday, the stock was $8 and below, so they had no chance.
No bueno.
No chance with this one. You roll the bones, and sometimes they come up snake eyes. Listen, let's see what comes up with you folks. Roll the bones with us. A little bit of the old. Actually, no, it's Monday. What am I doing? It's time for Uncle Mike to roll the bones. It is time for the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
Uncle Mike, before you keep going, let me just let you know here, too, our chat's giving and they're taking away today. They're saying I should penalize both of you for Rock Lobster for getting it wrong and you for not getting in fast enough on the power of great. What do you say to that, Uncle Mike?
I have the power.
What do you have the power to talk about in the strategy block today?
Oh, nice transition. I want to talk about the importance of diversification with covered calls. With our triple income strategy that we do, myself, Chris, and George, we've been doing it for, I think 9 years now. And for years, what I've tried to do is mimic it and see if I could beat it by just selling covered calls on like an SPY or something like that. And I've come to realize that I can't. And so one of the things that the reason with which I'm typically not much of an individual stock guy, in that picking individual stocks, occasionally I will at times. It's not my talent, so to speak. That's where Chris and George have come in to pick the stocks, and I'm the option guy of the strategy, if you will. And the benefit of being able to live in the individual stock world is that if you can come up with a grouping of stocks that has a similar risk to the index based upon your tools, your indicators, whatever the case may be, you can usually get more premium from selling covered calls on the individual stocks than what you can on the index. And so the idea is that if you can diversify your portfolio well enough to where the movement matches what the index does, at least close enough or to your comfort level, or perhaps it even is more efficient than what the market is, then a lot of times you can get better premium than what you could if you were selling covered calls on the index itself. And so I want to emphasize the importance of having some type of diversification with it because of the fact that I'm looking at it right now, and 70% of the calls of the stocks that we are in the money at this point. Now, I got a little bit more conservative with the strike price selection this past month in terms of I went a little bit closer to being at the money instead of out of the money. And sometimes we go a little bit in the money. It just depends on what our market sentiment is for the month. But on this, there's also a couple of them that are close to being in the money as well. So conceivably, we could be all the way in the money by the end of the month with one of them we didn't actually sell calls on this month. But my point is that it's important to have that type of diversification because of the fact that if some of the stocks don't do as well, where you can benefit even in a bear market would be if you have premium sold against the other stocks or premium is sold against the stocks that are going higher, whatever the case may be. If you have the premium sold, that can benefit the stocks that are not performing at levels with which you would like. So just wanted to share with the audience that in my experience, don't get me wrong, I've sold plenty of index covered calls in my day. or ETF index-based covered calls in my day. But I really do feel that it's important if you want to have success with covered calls. We've done a lot better doing it with the individual stocks because we've been able to pick the right stocks, of course, but also premium tends to be more favorable in the individual names. And that is the strategy block for today.
All right, now it's time for us to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody. Seems like you folks are finally waking up, starting to make up your minds on the pressing questions of the day. A lot of you are choosing science now. You know, the segment's over, so they can't do science. Maybe next week. You got to choose science before the segment. In terms of those Feb 19s, are you down to buy them or sell them? 57.1% of you want to sell them. 42.9% want to buy them right now. And as for silver, we asked you quite simply, how are you approaching silver right now? Are you straight long the underlying? You long silver with some puts in your back pocket? Are you short puts or put spreads? Or are you maybe straight short SLV, or maybe you're riding some long puts right now? And right now, about exactly 43% of you are straight long the underlying, or you're long silver with some puts in your back pocket. So interesting. Pretty 86% of you are long some silver right now. Interesting. And then 14% roughly want to sell some puts or are short puts or put spreads right now. I'm guessing some of you are probably short for some higher strikes. So hopefully you're doing all right there, not getting the dreaded call from the broker. No one so far is straight short SLV or long some puts in your back pocket. So interesting. That just went live. Get over there at options and make your voice heard as we hear from the Rock Lobster, sir. Mr. Rock Lobster, what's on your radar for the rest of the week?
Well, I'm looking for earnings. We got Google. Don't we have Google earnings coming? I think that's that's kind of the big AI one, because Google is up 100% last year from the low. So I think that's a good bellwether. And let's see what, maybe we'll have a Supreme Court ruling on tariffs. I don't recall seeing a whole lot of economic data this week, but I think just, getting to the end of earnings season and seeing what happens. But so far earnings have been pretty good. So I got a lot of reasons to be Mike Tosaw bullish here.
Mr. Uncle Mike, since you have been invoked, same question for you, sir. What are you keeping an eye on for the rest of the week until the Thursday show with the Flowmaster?
Well, with Andrew agreeing with my bullishness, that kind of concerns me a little bit. So maybe I need to start buying some puts, because maybe the world's kind of out of whack or something like that. But yeah, with that, we're just a few points away from an all-time high in the S&P. Going to be watching that. Definitely going to be watching earnings, of course. Going to be watching silver to see if maybe silver can go down to SLV can go back to 20. That would be kind of interesting, wouldn't it? So watching that, and then watching interest rates. So watching a lot of things right now.
Dare I say it, Uncle Mike, we get a 20 handle in silver again. Are you nibbling again, sir?
20 handle, I would nibble for sure. I would probably take some bigger bites if it went back to 20.
Man, what a wild time out there in metals it has been. Unfortunately, that music means the wild times, at least for this show, are done. But don't worry, I'll be back in a little bit. If you're hanging out in the pro, I'll be back live with the folks from Delphix Capital Markets coming up a little bit later on the crypto rundown. Yet another reason why you should be joining us in the pro for a good time over there. And then, of course, after the closing bell, we'll be back to wrap it all up with Thor Odinson, a.k.a. the Hot Options Report. But before we do that, around the horn we go. Mr. Rock Lobster, sir. Where should folks go if they want to check out all of your various wares and sundries, sir?
You really talked to a guy called Thor Odinson?
No, that's the name of our show. It's the Hot Options Report.
Oh.
I just like saying Thor Odinson because it sounds fun.
I think it does sound funny. I'm like, wow, because he decided to go all in, kind of Masters of the Universe, North mythology style. Oh, it was kind of funny. Sorry about that. Optionbit.com, 888-TRADE-01. I'm going live with my option fingerprint scanner. It is the only leak scanner out there that I know of that combines multiple things. So I'll be going live with that next week. It's pretty cool, I have to say. So it's a device to help you find option trades and good stocks to invest in. There you go.
What's it called? A leak scanner?
Leap. It's a leap scanner.
Oh, leap scanner. Okay.
Scanner. Yeah, we call it the fingerprint scanner.
Oh.
Fingerprint scanner.
I think I hear Thor Odinson is also a cool name too, but it's taken.
That's like the coolest name I've ever heard.
You can't have it. It's mine. Optionbit.com is the place to go if you want to find some leaps for yourselves. And Mr. Uncle Mike, where should they go if they want some Uncle Mike goodness, or maybe to talk about the good old days when silver was back in the 20s again, sir?
No kidding. Check out my YouTube channel. Just type in St. Charles Wealth Management. Trying to get some content out there as frequently as I can. And then if you're interested in having a conversation, go to my website, stcharleswealth.com. Book an appointment with me. Always happy to talk to any of our listeners.
There you go. Check them out, stcharleswealth.com, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. While you're kicking tires online, make sure you check out our friends over there at Tasty Trade, tastytrade.com/podcast. They're the folks bringing you the Monday edition of the old OB. We literally couldn't have been doing this network for 19 years now without the support of some great firms out there in the space. So check them out, tastytrade.com/podcast, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. That's it for us. Back again in a little bit to talk all things crypto. Back again after the closing bell to talk the wild and woolly world of the Hot Options Report. Then back again with our usual array of content until we're back Thursday, another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
Old trading walks into a bar. New trading raises it. That's Tasty Trade. Keep focused with news feeds that matter. See opportunity differently in analysis mode. Chart your heart out with over 300 indicators. Plus, you can get low pricing, lots of education, and a support team that really gets how traders trade. It's no wonder Investopedia named Tasty Trade the best broker for options in 2024. Genius loves company. Go to tastytrade.com/podcasts and see for yourself. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.